it's suspected that by the time we finish counting, it'll at least be in the hundreds. The fact is that today's conditions, both the hot, dry conditions but also the wind conditions, have contributed to the difficulties faced by firefighters and communities on the ground. We've seen, for instance, the fire at Lithgow travelled an estimated 20 to 25 kilometres today, burning an estimated 5,000 hectares of ground. The fire that's closed the Hume Highway is estimated to have travelled 13 kilometres or so simply in an afternoon. The traffic conditions across the city and leading into the city, of course, are difficult. We have a 20-kilometre traffic queue heading into the city via the Hume Highway. Every effort's being made to ensure those people get access to water and other refreshment, but that is going to be a difficult position for some time. The message clearly is that if you don't have to leave the city tonight, if you can actually avoid going home, whether south, whether west or whether north, do so, because otherwise it's going to be a very slow, difficult time. I'm delighted, I suppose, being out here to see the great coordination by all the emergency services, to see the tremendous effort that's been put in, not just in the pre-planning but in the implementation of these plans, and I want to pay tribute to the three commissioners behind me. But this difficult, damaging and dangerous day and these conditions are not going to be over quickly. Weather conditions are changing. It'll take some days to see the end of these fires, and I suspect if we get through that without the loss of life, we should thank God for miracles. Shane?
Thank you, Premier. We still have, as we speak, more than 90 fires burning across New South Wales. 36 of those remain uncontained. We have 6 emergency warning alert status fires still burning very aggressively and resulting in fairly widespread destruction throughout the communities being affected by those fires. As the Premier has indicated, we have many hours yet still to run. It's going to be a long, difficult and dangerous evening ahead for firefighters and obviously the communities in the path of these fires. We literally have many thousands of men and women dedicated to saving life and protecting as much property as they can. Reports and indeed much of the vision is already showing significant destruction and devastation, and as the Premier rightly said, if we can get away in the next 24 hours or so counting properties in their dozens as opposed to their hundreds, I think that'll be a positive result considering the magnitude of fire, fire spread and fire behaviour that we've witnessed throughout today. Some of these fires, as the Premier has indicated, have run an extraordinary distance today. The Lithgow fire has run at least 25 kilometres in an easterly direction as a main fire front, not to mention the spotting activity that's occurred. It's gone as far as Mount Wilson and Mount Irvine and is still a very active, fast-moving fire. Similarly with those other fires recounted already by the Premier. Some of these fires will not take hours, will not take days. Firefighters will be working on some of these fire grounds for weeks to come. You're talking about some of the most difficult and arduous terrain that these fires have actually traversed across, not to mention the significant impact in so many populated areas. Our most challenging time right now is in the hours ahead. As the frontal pattern starts to move through, it presents a very hostile, a very dangerous fireground situation. Of course, the firefighters will be front and centre, doing their best in that difficult environment. Southerly changes result in a number of principal concerns. The prevailing northwesterly winds will typically strengthen ahead of the passage of that front. As the front starts to move through, they end up with very volatile, very dynamic weather systems that result in thunderstorm type events occurring across firegrounds, and that makes for a very volatile and dangerous fireground situation. So our thoughts and our prayers are with the firefighters and the communities that have already suffered loss today. Indeed, I've got reports that, as is often the case with community-based firefighting that many of the firefighters out across these fire grounds today are also being informed that their own homes have been lost while they've been out fighting the fires, particularly in places like Winmalee. I have had report of one firefighter that suffered some injuries, some burn injuries down near the Camden area, and that firefighter has been transferred to hospital for treatment and assessment and observation. So the bottom line is a very difficult and dangerous day, and many hours yet to go, and many days and indeed weeks in some areas of firefighting and containment still to come. And we are expecting a reprieve in the weather tomorrow following the change, but early indications are a return to more hot, dry and difficult conditions towards the end of the weekend, particularly Sunday and Monday.
Commissioner, is it possible to put any kind of estimate on the property loss?
I think we'll be counting properties in the dozens, if not the hundreds, as the Premier has indicated.
And generally in which areas in Springwood?
I think you've got to look at Springwood particularly. Actually, most fire grounds today, reports are coming in of homes and property being lost, whether that's Lithgow, whether it's Balmoral, whether it's Blue Mountain, Springwood, Winmalee, whether it's Port Stephens, or indeed much further north up the north coast. We are talking about destructive fire grounds and some pretty extraordinary fire behaviour that's been unleashed across a whole host of different community areas today.
And with the fire front changing, what communities are you expected to be at risk?
All of them.
Commissioner, how does this compare to previous years? We had some very bad fire days, fire weeks in the past decade or so.
Oh look, this is as bad as it gets. You're talking destructive, damaging. You're talking people losing everything they own. You're talking key community infrastructure being destroyed by fire today. You're talking about massive dislocation to arterial roads and transport corridors. We haven't even taken an assessment yet of the utilities that have been damaged or destroyed. There's talks of water treatment centres, there's talks of power line infrastructure. There's a long way to go before we start doing a full audit and stock take on the extent of destruction and devastation across these fire grounds.
How many of these fires will still be burning when the hot weather returns?
That's difficult to say. With 95 fires across New South Wales as we speak, and more than 30 of those still uncontained, we'll be taking dozens into this weekend, and that will present challenges, obviously, as we see a return to the hot, dry conditions.
Premier, is there any estimate of how much this could cost